Hey guys, what's going on? Gary here. Apologies if you guys can barely hear me. Um, it's not hot enough to the point where I need my AC, but I turn my fan on. It makes me feel cool. I don't know. I'm weird. Anyway, um, yeah, radio silence, all other fun shit. I've done quite a few things since the last time I spoke to y'all, which I'll do probably another video next week about it. But right now, I want to talk about Phantom of the Opera. Um, for those of you guys who don't know, I'm not really a big fan of New York City for many reasons that I don't want to get into here. I'm just turn that fan off. I'll make it like incredibly low. Sorry, just very unprofessional of me. Is it rotating? Ah, shit. Okay. Oh, there we go. Do this before you do a video. Anyway, so what I was saying was I'm not really the biggest fan of New York City, if I'm being honest. For multitude of reasons that I don't really want to get into in this video. I'm going to keep it positive, keep it upbeat, and talk about Phantom. Because, well, as we've established, I'm a windbag who likes to hear himself talk. And I'm going to just post this on my Twitter as well. I'm talking. All right. So, first of all, what did I think of the Majestic Theater? You know what? For a theater that's almost 100 years old and has never gotten any kind of major renovation, it looked really good. Now, granted, um, I had nosebleed seats, if you want to call them that. But the thing is that the seats themselves really weren't that bad. I think also the layout of the seats is just very good because everybody, regardless of where you're sitting in the theater, has a very good view of the stage. And for some of the shows, bigger moments, and by the way, this will be a full-on spoiler video because if you haven't seen Phantom of the Opera, I'd say go see it, but tickets are pretty much sold out, and the show is closing on Broadway in about a month. So yeah, your only real chance to watch Phantom now is if you're in London or Japan, or you could just go watch the Gerard Butler vehicle, as I like to say. Um, so I guess I should also go into my history with Phantom of the Opera. So when I was a kid, I didn't really go into the city that much. I didn't see a Broadway show until I was in fifth grade, and that was Thoroughly Modern Millie, which I'm pretty sure no longer exists anywhere in the world. But I could be wrong. What's up, Alex? How's it going? Talking about Phantom and stuff. There's gonna be no nerd talk tonight, probably, but still. I wanted to do this while all the thoughts were fresh in my mind, and I was very tired yesterday, so I couldn't really record. So after that, the next play I saw was in my freshman and junior year of high school. I saw Wicked twice. Wicked's phenomenal as well. Kind of hyped for the movie version with Ariana Grande as Glinda. But that's the point. Phantom of the Opera is something I didn't appreciate or watch until 2013, 2014, 2015, whenever the 25th anniversary concert was on Netflix. It wasn't really a concert, it was more or less a scaled down version of the West End's production of Phantom of the Opera. They didn't have the big elaborate sets, they didn't have the really cool set pieces like Christine's father's mausoleum. I think that's the right word here. It's the big giant tombstone thing. Um, they didn't have that. Everything was just a giant projection, which, from what I understand, is kind of what they do now in London, and they reduced the orchestra. Now, keep in mind that bit is all secondhand information, and what I'm gleaming from what people are talking about on Twitter, regarding the London production of Phantom of the Opera. So, going into watching Phantom live, um, my expectations were pretty high because I've seen trailers, I've seen full performances on YouTube because people don't care about copyright laws, and yeah. What I will say is I did not get to see the current Christine on Broadway. Hold on a second. This is actually going to annoy me. Uh, Emily, I'm going to butcher this. Coachow, the first African American woman to ever play the role of Christine Daae. We did not get to see her. I think it's because the role of Christine requires so much operatic singing that it could strain your vocal cords if you do it twice in a row, which is incredibly smart of the producers to do. Because the best part about having two phantoms is, or sorry, two Christines in this case, is that you can have one for the afternoon matinee performances, and then that one has the night off. Then you have the other Christine do the evening performances. You know what I mean? So it's good to just get the actresses a lot of vocal rest because Watch Mojo did a top 20 hardest Broadway songs to do, to sing, and Phantom of the Opera is one of the hardest because of the level of vocal range you have to have. Like if you're playing the role of the Phantom, you have to have like a baritone voice or a tenor. In the case of current Phantom, Ben Crawford, this just shows you, by the way, how much knowledge and how much time I've spent researching Phantom of the Opera. That I'm able to talk about it in this level of knowledge. Um. So yeah. So I lost my train of thought, but we're back now. Um. My first exposure to Phantom, like I said, was the 25th anniversary Royal Albert Hall version, which had Sierra Bodges as Christine Daae and Ramin Karimloo as the Phantom, aka Eric. Um, so it's kind of like in the same vein as everybody has their doctor or their Batman. Ramin and Sierra are my Phantom and Christine, respectively. But what did I think of the overall performance? Like I said, Ben Crawford is a phenomenal Phantom. He does things that Ramin's didn't do in the performance that I watched. Namely, in his portrayal, his being Ben's, he's more of a tragic character who's more out for vengeance than Ramin's, which is just a lost soul wanting to be loved. Like, I'm gonna just quote something that I read. I think it was on YouTube or Reddit the other day. The biggest difference is between the two is in Ben Crawford's portrayal of the Phantom. He seems a lot more bloodthirsty, and he's more quick to anger, so to speak. Wherein with Ramin's, he's more of a cold, calculating character, which, like I said, who really wants to be loved? Now, granted, Crawford's Phantom is like that as well. Now, as far as Christine, I have no complaints. I forgot the name of the actress who's the other Christine. She's not an understudy. I'm checking right now. Julia Udine? Yeah, she was great. Um, she killed it, for lack of a better term. And I actually have the cast page up now too, so I can actually talk about my thoughts on their performances as well. Um, I think Julia was a fantastic Christine. I really would have liked to have seen Emily's portrayal of Christine because from what I've seen in the trailer that the official YouTube channel put out for Phantom, she's phenomenal. And I'm really hoping that for the final show or one of the final shows, they record it and then release it. I would buy that instantaneously. Um, I really just overall dug the entire show, and Paul Adam Schaefer was a great Raoul. It's funny. I keep thinking his name's Raoul, but it's actually pronounced Raoul. Um, no, he was great. I liked his portrayal of Raoul more than it's Hadley something. Hold on a second. Hadley Frazier. Then I bring up the cast list for the 25th anniversary, so I can talk about my comparisons. God, you would never expect that me of all people is a giant fan of Phantom of the Opera. I mean, look at this. I have toys and graphic novels, and cards, and I'm a fan of Phantom of the Opera. I think anybody honestly could love this show. It has a lot of good messages. Like, don't judge people by their looks, judge them by their inner beauty. And well, that's what I try to do. I don't judge people from the outside, judge them on the inside. All right, so back to the cast. Monsieur Firmin and Monsieur Andre, hit or miss. I mean, here's the thing. I didn't care about these side characters. I mean, I understand like they're important to the plot and everything because they're the ones who are pretty much getting the notes from the Phantom to like, hey, follow my orders, or you're all gonna die. Um, and you know what? That's fine. But I care the most about Christine's portrayal, the Phantom's portrayal, Raoul's, and strangely enough, Madame Giry. And one thing that I like that the movie does, as I just struck my leg, you had click come on, is, and I'm in darkness, just like the Phantom. Um, One thing that I like that the movie with Gerard Butler does, uh, compared to the show, is we get a little bit more lore behind Madame Giry and the Phantom, which is something that's a little bit more hinted in Love Never Dies. A little bit. But the movie actually does Madame Giry justice. Like, she was there when the Phantom was in a wandering circus. And we actually got to see them interact in the past. Which, for obvious reasons, you can't do in a play, because rather in a stage musical, because that would require different techniques, I want to say. Now, granted, I could just be blowing smoke. That's the one. So I like the portrayal of Madame Giry that I saw in the play, and that's really all I can say about the characters. The characters are just phenomenal. Everybody was well acted, including Piangi. For as little time on the stage as Piangi had, Like, granted, he was there for both for the office meetings with Furman and Andre. He was there for the rehearsals, and then he just dies because the Phantom's like, "I want Christine. This is my last chance," and kills Piangi, and then seduces Christine, and then Christine just seduces him right back. It's really weird. But anyway, I will tell you this much: if Phantom ever comes back to Broadway, or if you live in another country that's going to have its own Phantom of the Opera production, I highly recommend you go see it, and I'll get into the reasons why. Number one, I have never seen something more beautiful. Straight up. When it comes to seeing Broadway shows, now granted, in my lifetime with Phantom, I've only ever seen three. However, also not counting Hamilton, which was on my TV instead of in person. That's the point. Um, what I will say is, seeing it on Netflix as the 25th anniversary version was cool. But you don't really get to appreciate the grand. Oh, hey, why? What's up? You don't get to appreciate all the hard work that the cast, the crew, even Andrew Lloyd Webber himself put into making the show as awesome a spectacle as he did. A couple of moments that stood out to me in the entire show was, and like I said, this is spoiler territory. Wyatt and Alex, I know you guys don't care about spoilers, and it's like I said to you guys on Discord, the movie takes some of the events from the play and changes their order around. It's like the chandelier dropping at the end of Act One of the play doesn't happen until towards the end of the movie. But that's one thing that in person I can appreciate a lot, strictly because of all of the work that they have to do night after night, day after day, to not only bring that down to the stage. I don't have a Phantom mask, Alex. You did just give me a Halloween costume idea for work this year, so thank you. You the amount of work and time and energy that they put into the play is just shown right from the start. When we see in the auction scene with all of the little details in, like, the poster, for example, the monkey box, and getting back to the chandelier for a second, I've seen behind the scenes video from the Broadway production and the West End production as well, because there's stuff on YouTube for it. How heavy that thing is. And it astounds me that they took that much care of it. I'm pretty sure that's been the same chandelier that's been used since 1988. Um, and another big scene that stands out for me is when Christine's going to the cemetery to consult her father's tombstone for guidance. Um, I've done that myself, actually. I lost my dad almost 10 years ago. And there are times when I go to the cemetery with my mom and I go talk to my dad. And in that moment, I could relate to Christine because Christine's lost at that point. She is confused as to whether or not she loves Raoul or she loves the Phantom. And I just thought that was a pretty cool parallel to my life and also that I've done. And also, going back to the Royal Albert Hall production of Phantom for a second, um, they did at the projections of the graveyard scene for the Royal Albert Hall version. Um, in this, it's an actual set with the Phantom walking around, and you know he's actually walking around in the actual like giant mausoleum, and he's literally firing off fireballs, and it's some of the coolest scene in a show before. Honestly, like I thought the whole defying gravity thing in Wiki was cool. They just took it to a whole new level. Another thing that I want to talk about here is when they drop the chandelier, because um, in the Royal Albert Hall version, obviously they couldn't do the chandelier drop because of technical reasons, but also let's be real here, the Royal Albert Hall was not made to sustain a show the size of Phantom of the Opera, so they had to cut corners where they could, and honestly, it's fine. But seeing that in person, there's a scene. I mean, there's a line that the Phantom says when Carlotta's singing during "Poor Fool Who Makes Me Laugh," where he says, and I quote, "She's singing to bring down the chandelier." Oh, great! My audio's messed up. Are you serious, Alex? Hold on. Any better? Hold on a second. Testing 1 2 3. I'm muting myself. Alex, how bad is it messed up on a scale from 1 to 10? Okay, good. It's fine now. Thank you. So in the Royal Albert Hall version, you see the Phantom eavesdropping on Christine and Raoul after they leave, and go back down to so Christine can finish her performance in El Muto. And then the Phantom appears in another box and makes the chandelier explode. Whereas in the Broadway production, he's on the actual statue. I don't know what the statue's called. If everybody in the comments knows what it is, let me know. I'd like to spend my knowledge with that as well. But the statue rises so that he can send the chandelier crashing down to the stage to kill Christine. And that is awesome. Um Also, just going back to the graveyard scene for a second, there's a reprise of the opening lyric to Phantom of the Opera, like the themes, like the song of the show. I didn't realize that's where it was in the original version, let alone the Royal Albert Hall version. And I think that's a beautiful rendition of the opening lyric to Phantom of the Opera. Because yes, it does work as a very nice melodic piece. But when it's just Christine singing and the violins playing, chef's kiss. There was one other scene that really stood out to me, and I'm trying to remember what that was. um, oh yeah, the anytime they went to the Phantom's lair, especially when they were singing the actual Phantom of the Opera song, that was really cool. They had the whole boat, they had all the fog. It was really, really nice, and it was really neat for them to be able to pull that off. Um, Although apparently that's where the Christine and the Phantom did it and had used up. It's weird. Just ignore Love Never Dies. What's it called? So overall, what are my final thoughts? I've been rambling for almost 25 minutes, and I want to show off the hall and go play some Destiny. It's like I said before, Phantom of the Opera is an institution. It's arguably one of the greatest productions on Broadway ever created. It's been on Broadway for 35 years, and because they couldn't get the audience back after COVID and the profits weren't there, that's why they're closing. But I have a feeling it's going to come back, but we're going to get the scaled down version that London has with less people in the orchestra and more projections and not a lot of actual sets. I'm not sure if the rest of the world's like this. I know they're doing a Mandarin version in China now. Like I said, there's one in Japan, and I know they were doing one a couple of weeks ago in Australia. But if you're able to get out and go see it in your own country, go see it. It's phenomenal. The cast was brilliant. And yeah, so that's my bottle review of half review of Phantom of the Opera, where I spent 26 minutes rambling about how much I love a fucking Broadway show. All right, so let's talk about the hall real quick, and then I'm gonna go. Man, much like the Phantom, I'm gonna go back to my lair. Well, technically, I already am in my lair. That just has a point. Also, real quick, I just want to give a massive thank you to my buddy Zach for coming with me. Dude, you're a brother, and I love you. And I'm happy you were able to come with me and help keep me sane and calm. But at least for like 99% of the day when we were in Penn Station, yeah, I got kind of. I had a mental breakdown. It's just weird. But anyway, enough of me rambling. So let's see. I'm going to talk about the program first. This is it is a little damaged because it was in my bag. I got the official Phantom of the Opera program. This has the info about the show, the characters, all the other fun stuff, and it has really nice pictures from the play itself. As the mirror, something I actually wanted to talk about real quick while I'm thinking about it. The mirror scene where they lead into the Phantom and Christine's descent into his lair is also very well done. That's all I can really say about it. It's just a lot of many other people are much better talking about Broadway shows than I am, obviously. But even I can appreciate the love that goes into Phantom of the Opera. But anyway, enough of that. So I got the program, like I said, and it had like all the people who helped produce the show in a little insert. Cameron McIntosh, Denny Barry, David Caddick, Maria Bjornson, who passed away in 2002, I think. Oh, and there's actually a lot of merch you can get, and I'll show this here. This is shop.platypusmerchandise.com/phantomnyc, and I do see there's another pin or two that I want to get. Spoiler, I got pins. All right, so there's that. Next thing I'll talk about here is I got a fuzzy blanket that actually has what's called Phantom of the Opera's logo on it. And I'm going to use this when I go away with my friends, hopefully in a couple of months, because this just feels incredibly soft. Marvel Legends Phantom. There's a Phantom character. There's a character named the Phantom in Marvel, right? What? I could be wrong. I mean, we all know that the Phantom will return in Avengers King Dynasty. Am I right, people? Thanks, Wyatt, for putting that in my head. Appreciate you. No, but here's the thing. I knew I was going to go in and at least get the program. I ended up buying a lot more stuff, including the blanket. MGEXP Bandai fan. Let me tell you something. I wouldn't want them to do a model kit based on the Phantom of the Opera. Give me a figure art. Oh God, I should have thought about something. If they did a figure art of the Phantom, what accessories would he come with? I think they have Funko Pops, don't they? Hold on a second. Let's see. So they have the Phantom of the Opera based on Lon Chaney's version, which is the original Phantom, not the one that we all know and love today. But anyway, back to the haul. Much like my father before me, he liked getting tchotchkes and random items whenever he went anywhere. So, and I'm actually kind of ashamed to admit that I got this, but for $6 each, I got officially licensed Phantom of the Opera water bottles. They actually had cups, but they had red wine in them, and I don't drink wine. And I also had to drive home, so from the train station. So I did not get the cups, but I'll just probably end up ordering online. But no, these are cool, and they actually say Phantom of the Opera on them, and they have the Phantom's mask. But I go with Phantom. Why? If they actually did like a Phantom of the Opera sets, I would actually consider buying one or two of them. Oh, by the way, there actually was actually one other scene that I did want to talk about. The masquerade scene is fucking incredible in person. Like the Royal Albert Hall version is decent, but seeing the show in person just blew my mind. But I'll say that for the point of no return, aka my final thoughts. So, two water bottles are there. As per usual, whenever you go to a Broadway show, you do get a playbill, and unfortunately, mine got damaged. That's fine. I'll just see if I can order another one online. Yeah, Phantom of the Opera, phenomenal, like I said. Also, Wyatt, since you're here, I think you'll appreciate this. There's actually an ad in here for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So yeah, that's cool. Happy I own this. I'm just gonna get a copy that isn't like damaged so I can get it framed. I also got because that's actually in the other room in the apartment. I got a replica of the letter that the Phantom writes to Monsieur Firmin and Andre at the beginning because I made a donation to the Broadway fund, which I actually felt really good to do. I was gonna they had an option to donate $300 to like a signed poster. I said if it wasn't 300, if it was like 100, I was gonna do it, but not at $300. Um, so the last two things that I got were lapel pins. Actually, there's two more that I'm gonna get. The first one says Phantom of the Opera in New York with the signature mask. And the other one is just the Phantom and Christine on the boat. The last thing that I got was the bag. The bag has the chandelier as well as the Phantom of the Opera logo on it. So that is everything that I've got from Phantom. Now for the point of return, aka my final thoughts. I will happily gush about Phantom of the Opera any day of the week. It is honestly one of the best shows I've ever seen. Granted, like I said, I've only ever seen three. I have way too much knowledge about the show. I've watched so many trailers for it. I've seen so many clips. I've listened to the Royal Albert Hall recording on on Spotify more times than I care to admit. Is it a perfect Broadway show? No, but then again, nothing ever can be perfect in this world. However, what I will say is the show lasted 35 years on Broadway for a reason. And while, yes, it is a shame to see it go, it will always live on in the hearts of the people who worked on it and saw it. And who knows, maybe one day it will come back. Now, granted, I'm not the kind of guy who likes to watch things more than once, hence the reason why I don't do a lot of TV rewatches. But as much as I hate New York City, if Phantom ever does come back and it's not changed that badly for the worse, I would actually consider seeing it again. But to the cast and crew of Phantom of the Opera, to Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, to anybody who's ever put the mask on, to anybody who's ever done the show, thank you. For letting me into your world for 2.5 hours on a Saturday. And thank you for making Phantom of the Opera what it was. And it was a treat and the honor of a lifetime to be able to go see arguably the greatest Broadway show of all time. And now, my friends, um, much like Phantom, I too must go, but be vigilant. I'll return eventually. And one last thing, it's over now. The music of the night. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.